Hey y'all, what's up? In today's episode of Shit I Be Thinking About, I be thinking about John Fetterman. Now, I've been watching his career for a very long time, and this isn't about deification, because if you know me well, and if you've seen any of my videos, you do know that I can separate the person and be able to hold them to any type of responsibility for their actions and not put them up on a pedestal. There's a difference between admiration and deification, and some people don't seem to understand that. I'm not a fan of John Fetterman, but I was an admirer of his because I watched his career from a very long time ago. Ever since he did an interview with actually a kindergarten friend of mine that we go back. She used to work for PBS, and she did an interview with him, and I just kind of liked the cut of his jib. And I admired that he was a down-to-earth grassroots kind of guy, and he brought back revitalization to the community of Braddock, Pennsylvania, which was one of the steel towns in our area that was ravaged by the mills leaving, and they were facing some economic downturns. So he revitalized that area, and I got to give him a lot of credit for that. So that made me admire him to the point to where I definitely was going to give him my vote when he ran for lieutenant governor and for senator of Pennsylvania. So that was one of the things that I appreciated about him, that he was running on a progressive platform and maybe pull this country up from out of the depths of its conservative nightmare. And I don't mean that towards conservatives. I mean that towards the ideals of not wanting to go forward and not wanting to advance and remain in their comfort. And I thought that's where he was going. And also the alternative was, you know, this Turkish doctor that don't even live here, that asshole from New Jersey. Thanks, Oprah. But anyhow, you had him, and then you had this other senator that don't live here. He's from Pittsburgh, but he lives in Rhode Island somewhere with a bunch of rich people. So he's completely out of touch. So John Fetterman was the guy that I thought had his feet on the ground, you know, and he continued to prove that he was a good person. But now I'm wondering if he was playing the long game, because I remember when he became lieutenant governor and he decided to stay in Braddock and he donated the lieutenant governor's mansion to underprivileged kids. That was huge, man. That was a beautiful thing, and that was going in the right direction. And I don't know exactly what it was, if he got rewired after his stroke or there was a bunch of money that was thrown at him. I really thought he was incorruptible, you know? And now I'm looking at this cat and I'm thinking, you know, the Carhartts and the shorts and, you know, the more laid back approach to things and all that, it was just a game. You know, he was just playing the long game, and maybe he was a conservative in disguise. I don't know. But as far as I'm concerned, you know, disappointing is not what I even begin to describe how I feel about this individual. You know, this was a guy that you go to the Costco down in Homestead and you would see him every other Sunday, and when people would be around him, and it's like, I walked up to him and I shook his hand. Like, I met John Fetterman like 3 or 4 times. So it's not like, you know, he was somebody that wasn't available to the people. And now he's so completely distant, and he's talking really crazy nonsense, and he spends more time on Fox News than he does doing his fucking job. Like, what the hell is wrong with this guy? And I just cannot for the life of me understand exactly where the switch happened, or if he was always this way. I'm gonna say this. It is very unfortunate that his shift happened so early in his career or in his term, because we're not able to get rid of him. we can't vote him out for another 3 years. And I don't know if we can take having somebody that is falsely representing us as a state and representing us as a country, the way he's kowtowing and he's bootlicking and just the whole thing is not real. And with the orange guy up in the White House, and it's just like, how are you spending so much time on Fox News and you're not actually doing your job? And all you're doing is talking about how we as a country should become more significant to, did I say that right? I don't know. But how we should just, let this guy walk all over us because he feels that he's doing a good job and we need to be supporting him. You're out of your motherfucking mind. Like, I got a whole bunch of shit to say about that asshole ever since I'm not even going to get on that, It's like, but my hatred for him starts when he went on ahead and bankrupted an entire football league back in 1984. So 40 years of hating Trump is what I got behind me. But Fetterman right now is my thing. And I don't know if I'm rambling. I don't know if I'm making any sense, but this is something that I wanted to get out there. I had a great deal of admiration for John Fetterman, and I watched his career and I watched his downfall. And it's not even so much that I wanted him to remain partisan. I just wanted him to make sense. So with that being said, double fuck you, John Fetterman. And I mean that from the bottom of my goddamn heart. I put a lot behind you and I'm completely fucking embarrassed. And I can't even tell you how many other people in Pennsylvania are. So as you continue with whatever ridiculous bullshit you're doing, just know that we don't fucking like you. And that, my friends, is shit I be thinking about. Y'all have a good one. Deuces.